Alrighty. Let's see here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think all the buttons are working. Everything's live on Facebook. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? Welcome everybody on Facebook to another edition, actually episode number 12 of Convos with Clients. I am your illustrious, socially distanced host. I have a shirt on today. It's like the new Zoom casual. I have the collared shirt on top and I have the gym shorts on bottom, but I'm not going to show those today just because
this is a family channel, Dave.
I have a very important guest, and I have a good friend of ours that I had a chance to work with over the last couple of years. William Muse is the CFO of Pocahontas Parkway, and I want to welcome him to the program. There you go, William.
Very small sound machine.
I got the little small sound machine. We are high tech. We are big budget production here at Madison+Main. We cheat the other guy and pass the savings on to you. No, we've enjoyed working with you guys over the last couple of years. One, so why, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it. Giving up at least half an hour of the lunch hour to do convos with clients. And
we eat at the office now, so it doesn't make a difference.
Exactly. We're all eating at our desks now. It's the new normal.
Yep.
We had, thanks to the illustrious, talented Derek Fair, who he brought in Wendy's this morning. It was like personal DoorDash. Wow. We appreciate that. So for folks at home, I want to start out first. So why does a toll road need a marketing and PR firm? Okay, so aren't you guys controlled by the state and by the federal government, right? Is it?
Well, see, there's the word control. There's the word control. It is we are a heavily regulated business, but we are not we are privately owned. So Pocahontas Parkway came out like a lot of different roads in Virginia and around the country through what's called a P3 or a private-public partnership. And it's, when back in the 90s, Virginia was very progressive and it really created a framework of laws that has created these P3s that allow government-owned assets like roads and land where bridges and roads can be built by private enterprise through private debt, private ownership. That way, if it fails, which Pocahontas did, it doesn't land on the state as a burden. It lands on the private investors that are there. Right. So Pocahontas is a great failure/success story in the time that it's been around because it was created in 2000. I think it was built in 2002, 2003, 2001, 2002. The original owners, the Australians, was an Australian firm. They ended up failing on their debt and losing ownership of it. Went back in receivership. The state kind of handled it, but it didn't cost the state anything. And then another firm bought it, and then Global Via, which is an outfit based out of Madrid with many international owners, purchased the asset in 2016.
So we got a company based in Spain.
Yep.
Buys a bridge and a 8.2 mile road.
Ballpark, 8.8, but yeah.
It's roughly 8 miles and change toll road that connects the end. And for folks inside the area, I mean, a lot of people are familiar with Pocahontas Parkway actually inside the Richmond area, but it connects the Chippenham Parkway, a massive bridge over top of the James that is no drawbridge that actually lets commercial traffic through there and connects to the airport, 64, 295, all over the other side of things, and connects a real vital connector to really making the area kind of whole in terms of having a loop and a couple of different beltways, for lack of a better term, around Richmond.
Yeah, it's an interesting fit because it's not, the bridges that were built around the same time or even afterwards have been more further out. I think the 288 bridge in the western part of Henrico, or Goochwin really, Goochwin and Powhatan, that was built to be the further ring out, whereas we're more of an infill space. So right. we meet, when you think about all the development going on in Richmond, Short Pump, Moseley, that are 20 plus miles outside of the city, we're 6. And so when you think about the idea of, as things push out further west, further south, further southwest, In the east, you still have farms 5 miles outside of Richmond.
Right.
It's very rural in that eastern part of the city. And the bridge, it connects, if you think about it from Richmonders' perspective, it connects the two industrial areas of where we are. It connects, our biggest customers are UPS, where their facility down off, right off of Willis Road. Every time they go east, which is to the airport and everywhere else, all the brown trucks will go right past us. Everything from cranes to trash to everything else uses us as an artery for the commercial side of business. And also it serves a lot of commuters as well.
Right.
There's a lot of commuters that live in the East End that go to South Side and vice versa.
My perspective, so a lot of times people are just kind of, their perspective is me. Okay. How do I get from here? I'm a commuter. I want to go here. I'm using the Pocahontas every single time I go to the airport. Up until March, I was going to the airport a lot. Okay. I've only had to go a few times in the last 6 months. But connecting me to the airport, if I'm trying to go in 20 minutes is like awesome. I can save 20 minutes by taking that road to the airport. Boom, I'm going. The other thing is every single time I go westward, or at least trying to get to the Outer Banks, I take that and I'm saving a lot of time. I actually got, this like amazing, like 2.5 hours, like basically, from here down to Kitty Hawk. And there's two toll roads I take on the way. There's this one and the Chesapeake Expressway, which get me there faster. And I'm happy to pay the dollars because I want to get to the airport faster. I want to get on vacation faster. The idea, of a private road. So going back to this idea of the private road. So the government has a need, right? But they don't necessarily have the funds to say, I want to build a $300 million bridge or whatever that was.
Bridges aren't cheap.
Yeah, apparently
aren't cheap. None of it's cheap, and none of it's getting any cheaper. That's the fun part. And nothing like stuff you buy at Costco might be getting cheaper. Bridges don't get cheaper; they get more and more expensive.
And you gotta construct the bridge, but then you gotta maintain it.
Yeah,
right? And then you gotta maintain the road. One of the things I don't think people actually understand is that, one, I compliment you guys on this. That's the cleanest stretch of road in town. I don't see trash on it. I don't see anything on it because you guys are responsible for maintaining it. There's no potholes. There's no trash because it's your road and you take care of it.
Well, that's where the regulation comes in from VDOT, and that's where we have to work under VDOT's framework. So VDOT gives us a set schedule. They have their expectations on, they want bridge maintenance, they want roads clean, they want guardrails repaired. The pavement's got to be clean. So we have a framework where we are in a highly regulated environment because the road is owned by VDOT. It's owned by the state of Virginia. We own a concession, is the term that we use. We have a concession to operate. Much like at a stadium, the guy running the hot dog stand doesn't own the hot dog stand. He has a concession there. That's why they're called concessions. So it's the same type of business environment. Ours is just a very expensive hot dog stand. But part of it is we collect tolls and we also do all the maintenance and all the operations and all the risk. If a boat hit the bridge, it's our fault. It's our thing to fix. It's not the state's. So it's like, God forbid that happens, but that's why we have marine insurance. But the idea that we are responsible for owning or operating and maintaining the road. And a lot of that comes down to, you're right, trash, keeping the guardrails run. We had somebody the other day run into one of our guardrails and do like 10 grand worth of damage. Well, that's on us. Snow removal, everything else. There's a lot of working parts when people just think, I've got an 8-minute drive to the airport. And so for the regular publicly owned roads, like say Chippenham or 95, VDOT basically coordinates with all kinds of different third parties, to do that maintenance because they own that road, or they operate it. And then, so that's where we take that off of VDOT's expense. So we don't cost them anything.
So I love the idea of for myself, I love the idea of the public-private partnership in the sense that, one, there's community good and there's community benefit to the public-private partnership, and it's demonstrated in many different ways. So a lot of people say, well, and one of the things is we always hear about Pocahontas Parkway once a year, you guys raise the rates and everybody goes, oh, about the rates. And then we're like, well, it's a private toll road. Okay. And they have to do their maintenance. They have to do the thing. They have to fix it if a ship runs into the bridge and that sort of thing. And
that's rare, but yes.
Okay. But there, the other intangible benefits I don't think people are aware of necessarily is like, one, if you've got this road and if you don't use it, you're still getting a benefit. You're taking traffic off of other roads that would normally congest other public roads out there. The one argument I think you can make. I think you can make another that
if you ever spend a day on our road and saw the amount of trucks that we have hauling stuff through here, and imagine that going either north through downtown
right.
or south to via 295. I mean, that's there. So yeah, good point.
Well, the other thing about it is it's the only bridge in 6 miles of either direction, right? So you've got
correct. It's in a weird space where the river goes, instead of hooking neighborhoods, we're hooking really, areas of the city. But yeah.
Right. And the other thing is just connecting. There's going to be an economic development benefit of connecting two different distinct areas, Chesterfield and Henrico, and over to these areas where you didn't have an artery, you didn't have a lifeline, you didn't have. So every single package, for example, that UPS delivers might get to you 5 or 10 or 20 minutes faster just because they can take the road. So there's benefit to that, even if you're not using it. Like, I don't want to pay the toll because, well, that's your prerogative. And that's the thing. It's like, but on some roads, like the state roads, I know people that don't have a transponder. They do not have a smart pass. Right. They're like, I don't want to
easy
take
pass, but
that's the easy pass, right? So, and I say, I don't want to use easy. Fine, right? I do. I want to use it and I want to get there. You take 45 minutes from your house to come see me. I'll take 20 minutes and I'll see you there. That's fine. That's a value of time versus money. Okay, I get that.
Well, I mean, and that's exactly what tolls are. They come down to an idea of time, value, and money, which is why commuters take them obviously to make their day a little easier. But businesses, we never saw a drop really in the business side for COVID because everyone who's like, if you're a plumber and you're trying to get across town, you're gonna make more money at a stop than you are driving. So you're gonna take that road every day to do that. So it's so there is that qualification of the money. The other thing is, a lot of people in Richmond, we are clearly the most expensive toll in Richmond. I get that. But at the same time, the existing toll roads in Richmond, if anyone remembers Richmond in the 80s, there used to be 3 tolls to drive from downtown Richmond to Petersburg. And a lot of that stuff was in there to pay for those roads. And a lot of that stuff is all, that's why the RMA is still 70 cents, is because it's bought and paid for. They've paid the city back. All they've got to do is their maintenance. But if you go any other city, go to DC, go to, Maryland, go to anywhere up and down the coast, you'll pay $4 or $5 to cross a bridge is cheap.
Yeah. That was part of the thing is with it. It's a user choice. I can use a toll road, or I can pay for it, or I don't, and I don't. So whatever. And that's one of the things I love about these public-private partnerships. The other thing I like, one, you guys use the Easy Pass system, right? So I don't have to have another toll system, or I don't have to pay cash, or I don't have to whatever when I go through. I can just zip through it like any other toll and get charged on my account. But you guys also a while back put in some pretty sophisticated kind of booth boxes in there too, right? And that was right before COVID.
Well, it was before COVID, and it's funny how those machines are very ahead of their time, because it's for us, we were actually the first road in, I know Richmond, maybe Virginia, that was built to the modern spec of having what we call free flow lanes. So, anyone who grew up, driving to Downtown Expressway, Poway, whatever, even once people got the easy passes, they would have some dedicated lanes, but there wasn't just the open road of just you're staying 55 miles an hour.
Right.
Our road was the first one that was built to that spec day one. So we've always had these free flow lanes where if you've got an easy pass, the whole idea is if you're going to take a road to save 10 minutes, don't spend 10 minutes waiting to pay a toll, just go. And so that's kind of like, the benefit, the speed benefit is just go through the toll and use the easy pass. But we have those, the toll plaza where if you don't have an easy pass, pull off, you can pay. You can pay with cash, we accept credit cards. And a couple of years ago, it's one of the things that Global Via did was it really invested in technology. And, we don't think about, infrastructure companies highlighting technology. But I've been really impressed with the efforts with the initiatives in Spain for all the technology that we have. We have some cool stuff coming out soon that's going to take it to a whole nother level. But we invested considerable amount of money in these what we call automated toll collection machines, or the toll paying machines, ATPMs. And they're these giant ATMs basically, and they'll take cash, they'll take credit cards. You can press the button and talk to the guys in the station. And we kind of went to this touchless system, where we didn't have someone out there handing out cash. The machines do that. Put in a 5, they'll get 30 cents back, whatever. And we invested in that 2 years ago, and it's made our lives a lot easier. Sometimes harder because it's technology, but overall easier. And we've had a lot of different groups come out, different other toll roads. They want to come out, they want to look at them, they will see if they work, they will see how they work. So a lot of people were really interested in them. But when COVID hit, anyone who travels Poway knows that they shut down all of those lanes.
Right.
So no one was going to hand you a $5 or change with cash. And so we just kept everything kept running because we had invested in the technology. Right. And we didn't have to have people out there interacting with people and live touch and everything else.
Yeah.
So
most of them still have these signs up, COVID-19 limited services and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things I was going to ask about too, the other thing about the public-private partnership, the fact that you're a private company, I mean, the headquartered in Spain, but you're hiring local folks here and you're involved locally in the community. Back in May, a lot of people may not have known this, but we read about it in the paper. Kent helped us, and helped with PR on this. You guys provided a $20,000 grant to CIS Richmond for their emergency food assistance program, right?
Yep.
That helped with, and that was helping Henrico County Schools and Richmond County Schools, or Richmond City Schools.
We really focused on Eastern Henrico because that's kind of our backyard, and that was really an initiative from Spain. I think we've always wanted to do some local things here in the Richmond area and Eastern Henrico, and I think that the one thing, if you remember the early days of COVID, Spain was hit far worse than the U.S. was, right. And there was a big push. There's a big challenge basically from our corporate office in Madrid to challenge the concessions to go out, find a way to get involved and do something. So we have concessions in Spain, Ireland, we have Latin America, we have Mexico, Costa Rica, Chile, and we're the only one actually in the U.S. And we had all kinds of different stories where people were, people set up like the 3D printers, and they were making like masks and stuff. They were, there was all kinds of different groups that did stuff that were very involved in the community, and they're I think we've actually got a site on there. I think we can probably dump a link into the thing below, all the different things that were done at the different concessions. And that was something that we wanted to do. And my wife's a former RPS teacher, and we have a lot of friends in education, and we were looking at different things to do, and CIS, Community Involvement Schools, is a great organization. They have a lot of when we kind of looked around at the different groups, they really are a good group that has boots on the ground that helps. They kind of pick up where they pick up in the in-between space of someone who probably didn't qualify for benefits on March 10th, but on March 20th, we're waiting to get signed up for things. Right. So our gift was it was very nice that we were able to come in and do something that kind of was a stopgap for that, because when COVID hit, and I was listening to one of your talks the other day, your friend who runs the printing office, it was really that March 13th weekend where everything kind of like, it was kind of the, everything's gonna be a little different from now on. And it was, and we kind of felt the same way. And it was, but for us, we didn't go to zero. We weren't like a restaurant that had to shut down, right. and turn all of our business away. March 14th and the next Monday, we were here. I mean, we had to vastly change our schedules and who was going to do what and how they were going to do their jobs. But most of us were still here. We still had to make sure the road was clear of trash. If someone had an accident, we still had to set up all the cones and do everything else. Like, our jobs didn't stop. And we weren't, I won't say we're as important as those essential workers that, grocery stores and hospitals or whatever. But this is kind of that whole group that just keeps things moving,
Right.
those workers that are, they still got to run a power plant. They still got to run the trash trucks. They still got to keep everything moving for us to feel a semblance of normal.
Right. And imagine it like, if you couldn't operate it and the road closed and, you had different stuff and different folks from UPS having to take different routes and everything else, it just would have been kind of
complicates everything.
I would say CIS, I'm a big fan too. I've been involved with them, CIS in Chesterfield, Richmond, other places for years. And I appreciate you guys doing it. $20,000 is a very nice, very generous gift. We started on it because this is one of the things that I wanted to transition to is you talking about, Rick from Withkin that was on, and that March 13th kind of date, right? That's almost the cutoff when everything went, holy cow, and you guys, because of technology and some of the investments that you had already made with this kind of touchless system, you were well prepared for that, but there had to have been other things that you had to kind of change. Like, let's say that someone wanted to come in and pay a fine because they ran the toll or their transponder didn't work or whatever else, probably couldn't accept them into the office to come in, right?
No, and that's a good point. Like we have ironically, we call our customer service team the back office. They're a great team. They sit in the front of the building, which is kind of weird why they're called the back office. But so when you walked in our door, when it used to be open, they would greet you. They would, we could sell you an easy pass. We could take payments for violations, a host of other things. The occasional person is like, I got on this road the wrong way. How do I get back to 95? And we could, do that. It was rare, but it happens. That door has been shut since March 13th. And so we ended up buying and honestly, we should have said it a while ago. We bought literally a night drop box that you get like at an auto dealership. We had like little envelopes made up so that, people could come in, they want to stop here and pay for something. They can write all the information down like they were dropping off their Civic for some service, and, put in your license plate and what you've got. And then if you put you're going to put a check in or whatever. And, it's weird. We get like 2 or 3 people a day just dropping that off. And we're like, we should have put that in 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But
now, the whole one, I think when we look back on this time, we'll look at our businesses and say, one, it was just this kind of reset that we had to evaluate operationally and customer service and all these other aspects of how we have to change. And some of these things, thankfully, will remain. Many of these things, thankfully, will go away, hopefully someday. And, I hate to use this term, the new normal, other than things like the Dropbox, what are things that you think are going to continue on to change your operations moving forward? Are there other things from the lessons learned from the pandemic?
Well, we're an interesting business because we don't have, we have 2 office buildings out here that were built where the road was built. We can't just move to a bigger office. So if we ever want to, expand the team that's here, it's hard to do that in the space that we have. So having people that are remotely, that helps. One of the things I remember doing, and it was kind of surreal now looking back on it, is I was sitting in a Verizon store like that Tuesday or Wednesday before everything kind of went to crap on like, the 10th or 11th. And I was in there buying like 4 cell phones. So I was trying to get our back office team remote. And, someone has to be here every day to run the printers for the violation machines and, handle the mail and do that kind of stuff. But the rest of the team doesn't have to be here. So we moved, we worked with our partners with our phone company and rebuilt our outgoing message so that everyone, we're probably not going to get someone to answer your phone because no one's here to answer the phones. But we have a voicemail and then we'll get back to you. So if one of our team members, that's all they do is just check the voicemail all day. It's like 200, 300 messages a day, keeps it incredibly organized. And make sure that everyone who calls gets something back. And if someone falls through the cracks, it's rare. And then we've got, so one person can be here doing the physical things that they need to do with the, printing and assembling and, getting the mail out and stuff. And the rest of them can kind of work remotely because our system allows them to do that.
Right.
And, so that kind of thing is some of the stuff that we do that we can change moving forward. We've put our toll supervisors at a whole different schedule, that to limit the ability, like we build everyone into teams. So like, we put our 6 toll collectors into 2 groups of 3. So they work in 2 groups. So if we had, And one of our things, actually, she tested positive. So we had that whole team just had to like stay home for 2 weeks. And the other team kind of just they were here. And luckily she recovered and everything's better, but it's, we had to go into that mode when that happened, and we had to plan for that. So, we had our maintenance guys where, someone was always on call, and then we had someone that was always off, so that if we had, 2 guys that were here and they got sick, we had a backup. We have such a small team, and something has to get done. We have to have somebody in reserves that can do that. And it's, so it did really help us with our, small shop account, administration of segregation of duties, and what can you do as a backup for this person in case they're out of the office for 2 weeks in self-quarantine.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys pivoted, use that word pretty well over there. Derek, I think, posted a link, what we were talking about a little bit ago, posted a link in there also, and a link to the website too, so you can kind of see a little bit of the history there and everything else that's going on. I appreciate the time today. It was really, I think, also important for folks to kind of see this too, because they probably don't even give it a second thought. Drive through, it's like, I'm either going to ride that road or I'm going to do this road. And I think it's pretty fascinating, especially in the idea that, there's a private company that's performing a formally public function, and how that works. What do you think the future is for additional public-private partnerships with the Commonwealth and with other areas?
I think every major infrastructure, I mean, there's, and I'm not getting into the politics of it, but it seems like politicians always talk about infrastructure. And the thing is that it is such big boy, such large amounts of capital required that I can't see that happening without some sort of private enterprise rolled into it,
right,
from just the amount of money that's there. But I do think that the idea that having, if you're going to build a public asset for the public good with private money, having, it's not just so much the regulation with VDOT, it's the partnership with them. It's understanding, it's working together with them. We have a really good relationship with VDOT, and that has helped us get, that has made our jobs easier. And having a good relationship with our regulators, and being honest with them and saying, okay, what do you need? What are your expectations? How can we meet them? Where are we going to be limited in that? Is kind of, those are the conversations that have to happen that make that step forward. So that's kind of a big piece of it. The other side is, I think what people don't realize, and I certainly never did until, I don't know, I got this job, but like what it takes to run something that people don't really realize. Like I've talked to Kent and your team before about the idea of, how do we do public relations? Like, how do you have a business that has 16,000 customers a day that you never talk to? And the only ones that contact you are when they have a problem of, my Easy Pass didn't work, I got a violation notice. Like it's very rare that, if you have a customer, you see your customers, you have a relationship with them, even if it's kind of a, even if it's just the cashier at your store, they have some sort of an interaction with you, but we don't, they never see us, they know there's a building there and whatever, but people don't realize what it takes to run the stuff that they don't really,
right,
they just use. And I think
it's a unique business. And I tell you, and it's one for me, fascinating, and one to get to kind of learn over the last couple of years in terms of what you guys do. On a final note, I'll just make one more plug for this. I spent 11 years in Los Angeles, right? I spent 11 years in Los Angeles. I had, and my job kept moving me farther and farther and farther away from my house. And I had a 20-minute commute. I had a 45-minute commute. And my final commute was anywhere between an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. The one thing I think we take for granted
that's not a commute, man. That's a road trip.
It seemed like I was going halfway to Vegas just to get to work, from LA, right? But it really wasn't that bad. It was like a 60-mile drive, but it took me 2.5 hours some days to get there just because of the way it worked. You mentioned back, before I went to California, I remember the 80s, and I remember those 3 tolls between Richmond and Petersburg, and that big mucked up system basically of like giant lines and everything else like you get in Delaware and Maryland and everything else, and even with Smart Pass today.
one, I don't see that today. So I don't mind paying a toll. You know, like I know people are talking about it, whatever. I don't care if it's RMA or Pocahontas Parkway or wherever else. I'm happy to pay a toll because I've finally gotten to the point in my life where I go, time is money, right?
Yep.
And if more people actually understood that time is money, they wouldn't complain about tolls because they never sat for 11 years in Los Angeles traffic. The thing that could really solve that out there is something that they don't want to do. I don't, you know, I'm like taxes, I'm not really happy about paying them, but a user fee for me is different. I get a benefit from it. I get a benefit of time when I use that. So that's one of the things I find fascinating about this. We're coming up on the 12:30 mark, man. That was like quick.
It's quick.
Yeah. William, thanks for all the great information today. I appreciate it. Derek's going to put some links in there. Any final words, anything you want to say to your customers now that you have a chance to talk to them directly through Facebook?
Just drive safe. Just get off your damn phones. Just pay attention. I mean, I came in today and it's, you know, I joke, I keep saying, I want someone to like cross stitch this on the wall. It's never a dull day at the toll road. It's always something. And it's like, you know, and you know, today, so some of my team came in and they spent like hours on 95 because there was some like jackknife truck and some just the rain and people just not paying attention. And just, you know, part of it is it's going to happen. And part of it is just put your phones down, please drive safely. Just you want to get there. You want to get there safely. Just
I appreciate
that's
that
your final
advice.
note. There we go.
I love that advice, William. Thanks, because I know Drive Smart Virginia, one of our other clients, and Janet Brooking, would also echo those sentiments, and she did a few weeks ago here on the program. So that's great. So you've heard it. Words of wisdom from William. Man, that's hard to say. Words of wisdom from William.
Keep your days boring. Just get there. Just get where you're trying to get. Get there safely. See your family. Have fun. Stay safe.
You got it. Thanks, man. I'll see you soon. I'll see you in person soon. Thanks for doing this again.
Can't wait.
We really appreciate it. Thanks. You guys stay safe over there. And that'll do it for this episode of Convos with Clients. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.